Blender is a wonderful free program. You can use it to create amazing three-dimensional models and art. Unity is a very popular tool for making video games. Many game makers and artists use Blender and Unity together. They build their characters, objects, and worlds in Blender. Then, they bring these creations into Unity. This helps them build interactive experiences in games. Learning to move models between these programs is a key skill. It helps your projects look professional and complete. Sometimes, a problem happens when you move your three-dimensional model. You export it from Blender. You import it into Unity, but it does not look the same. The bright colors you picked might be gone. The detailed pictures, called textures, might be missing. Your carefully crafted model can look very plain, dull, or even just white or gray in Unity. This is a common issue, especially for people new to three-dimensional modeling or game development. It can be very disappointing when your hard work does not show up as you expect. This problem usually happens because of missing textures or materials. Textures are image files. They wrap around your model like a skin. They can make a surface look like wood, metal, cloth, or anything else. Materials are settings that tell the computer how light should interact with your model's surface. Does it shine like polished metal? Is it rough like stone? Is it clear like glass? If Unity cannot find these texture images or understand the material information from Blender, your model will not look right. It is like a chef preparing a dish but forgetting the main ingredients. This guide is here to help you solve these common export and import problems. We will go through the steps you need to take. We will learn how to prepare your models in Blender correctly. We will see how to export them so that textures and materials travel with them. By following these instructions carefully, your three-dimensional models will look just as fantastic in Unity as they did in Blender. This will make your workflow much smoother. You will be able to create with more confidence. Let us begin. First, you must prepare your model correctly inside Blender. Before you even think about exporting, make sure your model has materials applied to it. In Blender, you can find the Material Properties panel. This panel usually has an icon that looks like a red sphere or ball. If your model does not have a material, you need to add one. Click the New button in this panel. This will create a new material. It is a very good idea to give your material a clear and descriptive name. For example, character_skin or sword_metal. This helps you stay organized, especially when your models become more complex with many parts. Next, you need to add your textures. For most simple textures, like a picture on a t-shirt or the pattern of bricks on a wall, you will use an image texture. Go to Blender's shading workspace. Here, you work with nodes to build your material. Add an image texture node. You can do this by pressing Shift+A, then searching for image texture. On this node, click the Open button. This lets you find and select the image file from your computer. Then, connect the color output dot of the image texture node to the base color input dot on your main principled BSDF shader node. You should immediately see the texture appear on your model in Blender's three-dimensional viewport if it's in Material Preview or Rendered mode. Remember to save your texture images in a safe place. Once your model looks perfect in Blender with all its materials and textures applied, it is time to export it. First, select the three-dimensional model or models you want to export in Blender's three-dimensional viewport. If you have many objects in your scene but only want to export one, make sure only that one is selected. Then go to the top menu bar. Click on File, then move your mouse to Export, and then choose FBX from the list. The FBX file format is very common in the three-dimensional industry and works very well with Unity. When you click FBX, an export window will pop up. This window has many different settings and options. In this FBX export settings window, look carefully on the right-hand side. You will see a section called Path Mode. By default, it might be set to Auto. Click on Auto and change it to Copy. Right next to where you selected Copy, there is a small icon that looks like a little box or a package. You must click this icon to enable it. This important step tells Blender to embed or pack your texture files directly into the FBX file itself. This way, the textures travel with your model. Also, under the Include section, ensure Selected Objects is ticked if you only want to export the items you selected. Make sure Mesh is also ticked. Finally, click the Export FBX button. Now that you have your .fbx file, it is time to bring it into your Unity project. Open your Unity Hub, and then open the project you are working on. It is good practice to keep your project files organized. Create a new folder in your Unity project window for your models. You could call it 3-dimensional models or My Art. To import the .fbx file, you have a couple of easy options. You can find the .fbx file on your computer using your File Explorer. Then simply click and drag it into the folder you created in Unity's project window. Alternatively, you can right-click inside your chosen folder in the project window, select Import New Asset, and then navigate to and choose your .fbx file. Unity will then take a few moments to process and import the file. After Unity has finished importing, click on the newly imported .fbx file in your project window. When you select it, the inspector window, usually on the right side of the Unity interface, will show details and settings for this asset. You will see several tabs at the top of the inspector such as Model, Rig, Animation, and Materials. Click on the Materials tab. In this section, Unity shows you how it has handled the materials from your Blender file. If you correctly embedded your textures during the FBX export, using Path Mode Copy and enabling texture embedding, Unity should usually create the materials and link the textures automatically. You might see your material names listed here. One very common problem that artists face is with procedural materials from Blender. Procedural materials are those created using Blender's powerful node system to generate patterns and effects using math, like complex noise patterns or gradients, rather than using pre-made image files. These types of materials often do not export correctly to Unity because Unity's material and shader system works differently. Unity might not understand Blender's procedural node setup. The solution for this is to bake these procedural materials into image textures while you are still in Blender. Baking converts the complex procedural look into a simple image file, like a PNG or JPG, that Unity can easily use. This process involves a few extra steps in Blender, like UV unwrapping properly and using the bake settings in the render properties. Another issue can be lost or broken texture links, especially if you did not embed the textures into the FBX file. If Unity cannot find the image files for the textures, your model might appear untextured, sometimes in a bright pink color, which is Unity's way of saying a material is missing something. The best way to avoid this is to always use Path Mode Copy and click the Embed Textures icon when exporting from Blender. If for some reason you cannot embed them, make sure your texture files are placed in a Textures subfolder located next to your .fbx file when you import it into Unity. Unity might then find them. For some projects, especially those targeting web platforms or needing specific features, the GLTF, GLB, or GLTF format is another good export option. It is designed for efficient transmission of 3-dimensional scenes and models and often handles materials and textures very well. It is extremely important to pay very close attention to the export settings when you are sending your model from Blender to Unity. Even a tiny mistake or a missed checkbox in the FBX export window can lead to big problems and a lot of wasted time trying to figure out what went wrong in Unity. Always double-check that the path mode is set to copy. And critically, ensure that the Embed Textures option, which is that little box-like icon right next to path mode, is activated or checked. This simple combination of settings is usually the key to making sure your textures are packed correctly inside your .fbx file. Taking an extra moment to verify these settings will save you many potential headaches later on. Before you try to export a very large and complicated model, like a detailed character with many different parts and materials, or a huge game environment, it is a very smart idea to test your export and import workflow with something much simpler. Create a basic object in Blender, like a cube or a sphere. Add a very simple material to it. Then apply a single, easy-to-see image texture to that material. Go through the entire export process with this simple test object using the FBX settings we discussed. Then, import this simple object into Unity. Check carefully if it appears in Unity exactly as it did in Blender, with its color and texture intact. This is a fundamental troubleshooting step. If your simple test cube or sphere exports from Blender and imports into Unity looking perfect, then you have good reason to be confident. It means your export settings are correct, and your understanding of the material setup is sound. You can then proceed to export your more complex and important models using the exact same settings and steps. However, if even the simple test object has problems, for example, if its texture is missing in Unity, then you know immediately that something is wrong in your workflow. It is much easier to find and fix a problem with a simple cube that has only one material and one texture than it is with a complex model. This approach helps isolate issues quickly and efficiently. To summarize, achieving a smooth and reliable workflow for getting your three-dimensional models from Blender into Unity really comes down to careful preparation of your assets in Blender and using the correct export settings. Make sure you apply your materials and link your image textures correctly within Blender first. When exporting, choose the FBX format and always use Path Mode. Copy with the Embed Textures option enabled. After importing into Unity, take a moment to check the Materials tab in the inspector to ensure everything looks as expected. And remember the golden rule test with simple objects first. By following these guidelines and tips, you can avoid most common export-import frustrations and ensure your three-dimensional creations look their absolute best in your Unity projects. Keep practicing these steps, and they will soon become second nature to you.